Paul warned a great deal. Jesus warned a great deal. So did Peter about false prophets, false teachers, heresies in the church. Paul said, for example, in Acts 20, he said, after my departing, that is, after his death, grievous wolves will enter in, not sparing the flock. Of your own selves. He's talking to the Ephesian elders. These were his favorites, you would think. He spent 3 years there. He trained them, hand-picked, hand-trained, you know. But he said, of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them. Jesus warned, you know, false prophets will arise, who will show great signs and wonders, so convincing, if possible, the elect would be deceived. Peter warned about it. You know, there were false prophets among the people. There will be false teachers in your day who will bring in damnable heresies. And Jude said, certain men are crept in unawares. So some people, in fact, some bright young men and women are becoming Catholics because they read the church fathers, the early church fathers, so-called. I mean, there are truckloads of them. You've got to read Latin and Greek and everything else. I don't know how you would wade through them. I think the Bible is what I need to concentrate on. But anyway, they read the early church fathers and they say, well, they seem to be Catholics. I mean, they believed in the real presence in the Eucharist and so forth and so on. And so maybe if we want to really know what the Bible means, we need to get back as close to those days as we can to find out what those people who knew the apostles thought. Well, Paul says, of your own selves men will arise, okay? Speaking perverse things. So if the Ephesian elders that Paul had trained were going to go astray, why should I look to the early church fathers? I look to the Bible, not to what somebody says about the Bible. So what does it matter if Ignatius of Antioch knew Peter or whatever? It doesn't mean anything. The only thing that counts is the Bible. This is the word of truth. Okay, so there was the early church, founded by Christ, shepherded by the apostles, but it began to go astray. People brought in damnable heresies. They wanted followers of their own. And so you begin to have divisions and so forth. But there was persecution, horrible persecution. At times it was worse. Sometimes it was not so bad. And that pretty much, you know, if you weren't a real Christian, who wants to get persecuted? Why pretend to be something that's only going to get you thrown to the lions in the Colosseum in Rome? But then along came this guy, Constantine. Constantine was a general, very sharp general. And he had a vision. Well, there are different stories. Eusebius tells us some of it that he learned from Constantine and so forth, but supposedly he saw a cross in the sky. And he heard a voice saying, in this sign you will conquer. And he put this cross on his soldiers' shields. It happened to be a Mithraic cross. And a lot of his soldiers were followers of the god Mithras, so they loved it. You know, in other words, it was a perverted cross, sort of a paganized cross. But anyway, that supposedly was his conversion. I don't like that kind of a conversion. The guy hears voices and they don't tell him they give him a phony cross and so forth. And under the authority of this voice, not like Paul, who is met by Jesus on the road to Damascus and becomes persecuted and gives his life for his Lord, but these guys put the cross on their shields and slaughter people and take over Rome. And he becomes emperor. Now the emperor was known as Pontifex Maximus. That was his title as the head of the Pontifical College, which was the pagan priesthood. The emperor was worshipped as God. See, when you read in Revelation 13 that the Antichrist will be worshipped as God, they'll make an image to him. I mean, it's telling you, you're going to restore the religion of Rome. When the emperors were worshipped as God, they made images to them and so forth. I mean, it's another reason why we believe it's the revived Roman Empire. So Constantine although he supposedly became a Christian, he was not baptized until just before his death. He continued to act like a pagan. He presided over pagan festivals. He continued as the Pontifex Maximus over the pagan priesthood. He slaughtered his relatives. He acted like anything but a Christian. But he was a smart enough guy to realize, these Christians, they're not drunkards. They're not gamblers. They're not carousers. They're hard workers. They're honest. Why are we persecuting them? Maybe they could be an example for the rest of the people. And so he gives freedom to the Christians. He builds Christian churches. But at the same time he's building Christian churches, he's building pagan temples as well. He's playing both sides. He's playing both sides of the fence, okay? So what happens is it becomes a popular thing to be a Christian. If you want to advance in the army, if you want to advance in business, if you want to advance in society, be a Christian, because they're the favored people now. The emperor is supposedly a Christian, but you can read what Augustine, for example, says in the 4th century. He says, you walk into a church, you see the same people that frequent the pagan temples and the pagan holidays. They're wearing medals and they're wearing amulets and magic medals, and they consult sorcerers. So there was a mixture. There was a marriage between the world and the church.